interview under the guise of an itchy ankle. That, and I wasn't exactly the most organized person in the world. It wasn't a great situation to be in when you were applying to be a personal assistant, but I figured I could do it, even if it was for the boss of a real estate company. I hadn't even met the guy. I knew nothing about him except for the fact his name was Cameron Reid, and he ran his family's real estate company. His current full-time personal assistant had decided not to come back from maternity leave, and he didn't like her temporary replacement, so she'd been called in to do interviews. Meeting Casey Owens probably should have been my first clue that, no matter how well the interview went, I wasn't a fit at Reid Real Estate. She was tall, slim, and she didn't have a hair out of place. I was relatively tall, packed a few extra pounds on my ass, and discovered I'd forgotten to curl the back of my hair 5 minutes before she called me in. It reminded me of the time Andy went for her interview in that Devil/Prada movie, or Ugly Betty. All those tall, beautiful, perfect people. And then there's you. Or me, in this case. With my half-uncurled hair and a dirty pair of panties with flamingos on them still tucked into my sock, even as I placed my order at the counter in Starbucks. It really wasn't any wonder that I was single, although part of that was not my fault. But my ex will tell you differently. I took no responsibility for his issues when it came to getting his soldier to stand to attention. Those were all on him, no matter how many times he tried to claim otherwise. For all I knew, he'd caught something from one of the women he'd been sleeping with behind my back. Again, this was also not my fault. The dirty undies in my sock? My fault. Lying cheat of an ex with a problem getting his cock hard? Not my fault. Not initially setting the alarm on the Alexa for every day? Totally my fault. I took my coffee from the counter and scanned the room for an empty table. There wasn't one, which killed my chances of wasting more time before I went home. With a sigh, I checked my phone for the time and headed for the door. I was going to end up home earlier than I'd planned, and I needed to check with my mom to make sure there wasn't anything kinky happening somewhere in the house. I had considered bleaching my eyes enough in the last few weeks, thank you. I was reasonably sure I was safe because my grandfather and great-aunt were coming to stay to celebrate Grandpa's 80th birthday. It was still a miracle my exhibitionist mother shared DNA with either of them. They were ornery and grumpy and fought every 10 minutes, but they didn't flash their flesh in the hopes of getting out of a speeding ticket. I wouldn't put it past Aunt Grace, though, on second thought. Really, it was no wonder I was a walking disaster. I pulled up my messages and clicked on my mom's name. My thumb was poised to type the burning question of whether or not it was safe to come home when I glanced up and saw the car screeching to a stop mere inches from me. I screamed and stepped back. My heel caught on the curb, sending me toppling backward, and both my coffee and phone went flying. My cup slammed against the sidewalk, splattering hot liquid everywhere, right as I managed to save my phone from certain death by concrete. My heart was beating so fast it should have exploded, and adrenaline raced through my veins. I gripped my phone against me so tightly that the edges pressed painfully into my skin. Oh my God. I'd just almost died. Maybe slightly dramatic, but I probably wasn't far wrong. I didn't even know I'd stepped into the road. When had that happened? Had I really been in that deep into my own little world that I hadn't even checked for traffic? Dear God, how was I still alive? The back door to the sleek black car that somehow hadn't run me over swung open. From my vantage position on the sidewalk, the first thing I saw was a pair of shiny black shoes attached to legs wearing perfectly pressed, light gray dress pants. I dragged my gaze up from the feet, over the door of the perfectly clean car, and stared at the most handsome man known to humankind. Thick, dark, wavy hair covered his head, curling over his ears. Lashes the same dark shade of brown framed impossibly bright blue eyes that regarded me with a mixture of shock and concern, and my ovaries about exploded when he rubbed a large hand over full pink lips and a stubbled, strong jaw.